Hello, and welcome to the Drop a Stitch podcast.
I'm Danny, your host.
And I'm Natalie, your other host.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about temperature blankets.
Yes.
We have here the expert. As we said in the last episode, Natalie is the expert of temperature blankets.
Picture me rolling my eyes as she says this every time.
But she is. Anyways, we're going to be talking about water temperature blankets, where do you start, and all the fun stuff, because we are at the very beginning of the year. And I wanted to say this in the last episode, but I thought to save it for now, for this episode. Why do you think, as somebody that sells a pattern for the temperature blanket, that people wait until the beginning of the year to start the temperature blanket rather than the last month or so of the year to start? Don't you want to start like January 1st?
Yes, but
So why would people start?
people start January 1st. I mean,
No, because they buy the pattern.
Yeah, but you can always go back in time. I'll tell you all about it.
Oh, okay.
They see it pop up on their feed. They think about it starting January, because that's where people start posting about their color charts and everything. And then
Yeah.
they're like, ooh, I want to do this too. And then they just backtrack for a couple of days. It's fine.
Huh. Well, yeah, I guess so. Okay, so it's gonna be a fun episode. If you're planning on making a temperature blanket, you should definitely listen to this episode.
And if you just don't know what a temperature blanket is,
Also listen to this episode. 'Cause it's gonna be fun, chatty and
yeah.
lots of information as well. That's what we try to
Bring.
bring and give you guys. So, okay, let's begin with the expert of temperature blankets.
Let's start with what is a temperature
Exactly.
blanket.
Please tell us, what is a temperature blanket?
Essentially, a temperature blanket, and I'm going to use the crochet temperature blanket as an example, but it could be anything. It could be a knit scarf, because I've also done that. It can be anything. But basically, you want something. You basically have a color chart, and each color is associated to a certain range of temperature. And then every day, you choose what temperature you want to use, whether it's the low, the high, midday, the average, whatever it is. We'll get into that. And whatever temperature you pick for the day is the temperature that dictates what color goes with it. And then every single day, you do a row of that color. So you can't plan ahead. You have no idea what your temperature blanket's going to look like. It follows the weather.
That's
so it's
amazing.
really fun, because you'll see how the weather reacts. You'll see, oh, here it got really cold, here it got really warm, and it's
Yeah.
very interesting. And it doesn't have to look like somebody that isn't making the blanket would know why this color is there, or like they won't see all the little details that you'll
Yeah.
notice. So it looks like a fun, colorful blanket for most people, but
Yeah.
it's really, really great when you do it yourself. And I did mine as a way, because I like to plan everything prior to doing anything.
She does, you guys.
So this was my way of like, I'm going to let Mother Nature take the wheel on this one. I'm going to
Yeah.
pick out the colors. I know I'm going to do a row a day, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
And Mother Nature did a great job,
Oh, for
because you guys
sure.
all love the temperature blanket that came out of it.
And if you guys listened to the first episode, I met Natalie when she was making her very first temperature blanket. I remember this girl coming to the cafe with this huge, massive IKEA bag with her massive temperature blanket in it, and she would just sat there and be all cozy under the blanket, just stitching one row at a time.
Yep. And yeah, temperature blankets are not for the faint of heart. They take a lot of dedication. It's 365 days.
Yeah, so-
plus a row. I did a row of white in between each month, so
To
you can
separate.
separate them, which I
Yeah.
think is really cool and adds another dimension to the blanket, which is fun too.
Yeah.
And then you have to do a border and weaving all the ends.
Which there are a lot.
There are a lot. Yeah, but it's a fun project.
Okay, so I want to know, because I didn't know this before. I never asked you, but how did you come up with the idea? Where did you see it? And how did you make your pattern, because before you, I never ever heard of a temperature blanket.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I came across the idea, I think on Instagram or Facebook or something. I came across it.
Sorry.
And it caught my curiosity. Because, like, ooh, what is this? This is fun. This is, like, you don't know what's going to happen color-wise. So I started looking into it. But most temperature blankets don't have the greatest color scheme.
Yeah.
They're pastels, or a lot of people like to do, which is really cool, but may not look the best. We'll do special colors, or like sparkly yarn, or like fluffy yarn, or add things for special days, which is really fun, but is not like super cohesive with the rest of the blanket. So I had found a few and I thought they were great, like the idea of them, but I didn't like any of the color schemes. So I decided to try to see if I could create a color scheme that worked. And so I went to Michael's, looked at the yarn that was not super expensive, because a temperature blanket will use quite a bit of yarn. You need like 12 colors plus the color for the border and the monthly separation, so it's 13 colors of yarn, and on some of them you'll barely use even like a quarter of a skein, and on some others you'll use multiple skeins. So I ended up picking Vanna's Choice, which they had in stock at the time. And I literally...
Oh my gosh, sorry to interrupt you, but I remember you saving every single label.
Yeah, I needed to know how many I needed. So I got to Michael's and I wanted to do the same rainbow as was like the popular thing.
Yeah.
But I think people failed to realize that you can have a color and then have a color that, like, the next day have something that's 5 colors away, because the temperature changes so greatly, especially where we live.
Yeah.
Like, we can literally have 20, 30 degree difference within a day from the next.
For sure.
So we need to have a color scheme that every single color works together. So I picked 12 colors. And I laid them down literally on the ground in the aisle in Michael's. This was pre-pandemic. It wasn't as bad then. And I literally played with the colors and moved them for 2 hours and a half.
What?
I spent 2 hours and a half in the aisle at Michael's being like, no, this one's not right. Changing the color and then putting it against 5 colors down and 5 colors up to make sure that it would look good with no matter what was next or before.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, this one looks weird with this one. Okay, let's see if I remove this one and put this one. Okay, now this one has a problem with this one. And I just kept playing around with the colors until I found like the perfect rainbow that I thought looked great. And
which it did.
Yeah, apparently so, because that's what caught the eye of most people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have seen temperature blankets before, but I think mine stands out because of its color scheme somehow.
I think so, yeah.
That's what most people have said. Like, I've seen so many and this one looks the best.
It's just so crazy because everybody tries to use these crazy colors, but yours are such a like simple, but like a rainbow color that it looks so good.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like these I don't know, aqua color or whatever. No, it's just blue. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean? It's just so simple, but that makes it look so nice.
And I think you have to adapt your color scheme based on where you live too. So because we live in Canada, we start off the year with winter, then we have summer, and then we go back to winter before the year ends. So if we're doing a temperature blanket...
Yeah, no, I'm good, sorry.
If we're doing a temperature blanket, what's fun with our climate is that you start, like, so with the rainbow, I had the cool colors, the blues, as the cold weather, and then the warm colors, the yellows, the orange, the red, as the warm colors. And so you start off in the yellows, the blues, you slowly transition to like the yellow, orange, red, and then you go back to the blues.
You go back to the blue, yeah.
So like it's really nice, and it's balanced when you look at the blanket, because the beginning and the ends, although the colors are not in the same order and they don't exactly match and they're not the same size, it flows well.
Oh yeah.
So if you live somewhere where you don't have as much, and like I used 5 degrees Celsius increments for each of the color changes, so on my color chart. But if you live somewhere where there's barely any variation, like if your climate doesn't go from -40 to +40, if your climate goes from like, I don't know, 10 to 30, you need to shrink it to 2 or 3. So you need to adapt it for your climate, and you need to think your color scheme based on where you live. If you know it's going to be colder for the first half of the year and warmer for the second half, it's not going to look the same as us where we have winter, summer, winter, you know?
Yeah.
It's going to look different. So you have to think of that. So I said this project, I didn't want to do a lot of planning. I did a lot of planning.
Oh, yes.
Except for where the colors were.
Sure did.
The other thing you have to take in consideration when you're doing a temperature blanket, which is what kind of decided the stitch for me, is that it's going to be extremely long.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have
It's 365 rows.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes 366, depending on the year.
And the month separation.
Yeah, separation. And then you want to add a little border to finish it off nice. So...
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Very simple single crochet border.
One row or two?
I think one. Very simple. It was just because...
That was it.
That was a like tip. Whenever I had the same row, like the same color of yarn, like 2 or 3 rows up, I wouldn't cut my yarn and weave in ends. I would just carry it up the side because I knew I was going to put a border.
Yeah.
So it saved me from having some ends to weave.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to do a border. But I did do a border, and I'm happy I did because I had started with a row of white at the beginning. So I ended with a row of white and then just did a border around it.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, so your color chart and your color is, to me, the most important thing you could do.
For sure. And the
for the
stitch, like you said.
The stitch is next because you want to have something that's very like short in row height so that you can have 365, 66 plus monthly separations plus border. And in order to do that and it not looking like a scarf, you need to plan your width ahead of time.
Like a massive scarf.
Yeah, super long scarf. You need to plan your width ahead of time so that it's not like a super narrow but tall blanket, and it's like more like a rectangular normal size blanket. So that's what I had done. Mine ended up being about 66 inches wide and 78 inches long, which is fairly big. It's bigger than the big throw.
Yeah.
But it's great, honestly, and it's heavy but not too heavy. It's like almost like an in-between to a weighted blanket. So it's honestly, it's really great to snuggle under, and you can fit 2 people underneath it to watch a movie. It's great. So that's the gist of what a temperature blanket is and how I started. And the sole reason why I decided to create a pattern was because everyone kept asking me questions.
Yeah.
Like, the post blew up. Everybody loved it. I had, like, this was my post with the most engagement ever. And then Tony from TL Yarncraft did a video on YouTube that she was thinking of doing one, and that my blanket was her inspiration, which I feel pretty proud of.
Of course.
That was so big for me.
For sure.
And then, so a bunch of people from that found me and liked me. And I was featured in a few like articles from like online magazines, and actually the Debrosi, is that how I'm saying it? Her co-op pattern featured my blanket as well. So it's been super nice, and people have been asking me questions. I figured at some point I was like, I'm just going to do a pattern. It'll be easier for everyone.
And also makes you money.
Well, yes, that too. That's also nice. Yeah. There's so much like details to take in consideration. So it was really nice.
You don't want to have to be as nice as you want to be with your followers and with people. You don't want to be spending hours trying to explain something that has so many details to every single person. And also everybody's questions and needs are different.
Yes.
So, it was just good for you and your time to create something that would fit everybody and that would answer everybody's questions.
Yeah, for sure. And I worked the pattern so that you could use it to make your own too, but it has all the info. Like if someone really wanted to make, and I don't know why they would, but if someone really wanted to make the exact same one that I did, they have like literally what every single day color is and what the temperature was.
Well, or at least the colors. Maybe they don't want to
the colors are the main thing that people want to know. And it's made out of Vanish Choice, which they discontinue colors and bring back colors all the time.
Yeah,
which is kind of annoying.
It's annoying
because when I started making my blanket, I had all the colors available, and then it took me like almost 2 years to make it. So by the time I was like, okay, let me pick this up again and finish it, which is when I met you at midnight, some of the colors were discontinued, and I was kind of freaking out. And I was like, annoying. I need to finish it. But then I found some on like resellers online and ordered it and got it. And now these colors are in stock. So it's like, they did discontinue and bring back colors.
I think they even took it out of Michael's, didn't they?
Yeah, they took it out of Michael's. You can order it online now.
What?
But yeah, and I've helped a few people that they couldn't find specific colors, so I've helped them find alternatives colors.
Oh, that's nice.
So, because I still have some left over, so I have the actual colors. So, like, I've gone to Michael's and, like, matched it in Impeccable as closely as I can.
That's nice.
So that helps. But every year, different colors go in stock, go discontinued and come back. So it's a little weird. But yeah, like this year, there's only 2 colors that are not available, and one of them I can find online. So there's only one really that people can't find, and it's a fairly easy one to match. So
that's
not
good.
bad.
Yeah. How do you use it?
How do I use it?
No, have you used it?
Of course I've used it. Of course I've used it.
Yeah?
It's like the most used blanket that I've made.
Okay.
Yeah. At first, no. I'm going to say for the first year after I made it, it's like I had a ladder where I could display blankets in my living room, and it was very nicely folded over there, and I was like, no one touched it. I put so much time in this. No one is touching it.
Yeah.
Nothing is spilling on it. It's going to look nice and pretty.
Forever.
And that's it. And then I was like, this is silly. I put so much time into it. I'm so proud of it. Let me use it.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, like it's the most favorite thing that I've ever made.
Oh, that's good.
It's so heavy. It's so cozy. It's great. I love it. So yes, I've used it multiple times.
Good. Okay, so where to start? If I'm new to this and I don't know where to start, and I'm so interested, I really want to make a temperature blanket. I know how to crochet, but I have no idea how to make a temperature blanket.
Well, you could always buy my pattern.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to get for.
You could always buy my pattern. I have 2 things in my shop. I have the pattern, which tells you all the steps and how to make exactly the one that I've made, and you can customize it by changing your colors and your temperature range. That's very easy to do.
I want to just give a little side note in here. If you want details, Natalie has all the details in her pattern. Trust me, this girl put all the effort in the world. The pattern is just amazing.
Thank you.
It is.
And then I created a planner. So like I recommend people buying both, because the planner is basically a space where you can write down like what yarn you're using, what your color chart is, and then the temperature every day, and then what color it needs to be, and you can check mark them like once you're done, so you know exactly where you are, and you can keep track of the temperatures. But yeah, so I would start with that, or finding another pattern online or wherever. If you don't want to create your own, that's the easiest way to go. Second step would be deciding your temperature range. You can quickly Google online, like, what's the temperature range for this location, like coldest weather or warmest weather. Keep in mind that whatever you picked as your hottest and your coldest weather, you will barely use if used. Like when I did mine, I had picked colors that were cooler. I think I had one extra color that never made it in the blanket. I think it was
really?
it was like a super navy or like the black, and it never made it because it never got that cold.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, pick your colors and your temperature range based on your climate. And then...
and also keep in mind too that, like Natalie said at the beginning, if where you live doesn't get super hot or super cold, you need to adjust the range.
Yes.
Instead of doing 5 degrees, you can do 3, 2, or even 1 if it doesn't get like super different throughout the year.
Yeah. The next thing you'll need to do is kind of decide which temperature of the day you'll get.
That's important.
Yeah, that's very important. That's something I hadn't thought of until like the first day came, and I was like, I'm going to record my temperature. And I was like, wait, but which one do I take?
Yeah.
Because like you'll get hourly temperature, you'll get morning, you'll get afternoon, you'll get, and it's like, wait, which one do I get? Again, it depends on where you live. Because we lived in Ottawa, Canada, in the winter, our mornings are super cold.
Yes.
And we have like the wind factor, which makes it even colder. And then in the summer, our afternoons are super hot, and we have the humidity factor, which makes it even hotter.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't use a morning temperature. I can't use an afternoon temperature. The evening just makes no sense. I can't use an average, because it's never going to show me the coldest. It's never going to show me the warmest. I can't use the high or the lows for the same reason. So I decided to do the noon temperature, because I felt like it was kind of fair and in between for both the winter and the summer. I've seen people do high. I've seen people do low. I've seen people that have a lot of courage do a temperature for high and a temperature for low at the same time.
Oh my God.
Which is insane to me, but
What?
good on you. So you have to adapt it to your climate. If you don't have a lot of variation, you can take the high of every day. If you don't, or the low, depending on where you live. But for me, I felt like noon was the safest. It was right in between everything. So it would show both range, and it worked.
Nice. Also, I feel like you should keep in mind the kind of yarn that you're using. If you
Yes.
want to go with bulky or super bulky yarn,
This is not the project for you.
You are going to have a massive blanket that you can probably fit your whole neighborhood under.
Yes. That's bears to mention. I used Vanish Choice, and that's a worsted number 4.
Yeah.
Which is why I had to use a very, like, short height row stitch.
Mm-hmm.
But you could use, like, fingering and everything if you really want to.
Yeah.
The main thing is, like, having the color options. So you have
Exactly.
to... And ideally, you want something that's affordable and easily accessible, because you're going to need many skeins of certain colors, none of others. So
And it's not like you can go to Michael's or whatever store one day and just get all the colors at once, because you're not going to know how the temperature is going to look. So you have to buy your all the colors that you're going to need one skein, and then, you know, as you
Yes.
progress, you go get more.
unless you're doing a temperature blanket for a past year.
Yes.
Which you can also do. So if you're doing it for like an upcoming year, or like 2023,
Which I'm doing.
Which are you doing? 2023?
Well,
no, you're doing
no.
it past year.
Okay, yeah, but what I wanted to say is, okay,
Wait, what?
Little story. No. Little story of my temperature blanket. So, when Natalie made hers and we took pictures in here in my house, it's so beautiful. The concept, it's amazing. I absolutely love it. And I was thinking, I want to make a temperature blanket that it's super meaningful for me and for my kids. So I decided to do my kids' first year of life in the temperature blanket.
Yes.
So for Luca, he was born October. So I wanted to start in October and then finish October the next year and have the temperature of his first year of life, which I think it's so beautiful. And I'm so excited. I started last year and it just got crazy, got busy. Was it last year or the year before?
It was last year.
Okay.
Because you were pushing me to do my pattern as I was pushing you to do...
Okay, so it was...
As I was convincing you that it was a good idea.
Okay,
that you
so it
should.
wasn't last year. It was the year before. It was 2021. We're in 2023.
Yes, okay. Sure. I'm still not used to it. Very end of 2021.
Okay, so it's still been more than a year.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I started it, and then life just got busy, and I haven't...
Hey, maybe we should have added this to your gold last episode. Maybe
Yes.
this year you finished that blanket.
I really want to, because I've been enjoying making blankets, and I am looking forward to making that blanket. Luke is really, really loving blankets at the moment. He stole the blue one that I made,
Yep.
that I had for my living room. It's just gone. Like, it's in his crib, and now, sadly, is ripped in a few parts.
Oh, no.
Yes, because he's been pulling it so much, and the stitch
It's
for
not the
fur-
strongest yarn either.
It's not, but it's also the pattern that I made. It's super flowy,
Yeah.
and it's almost made with double crochet, which is what's a variation of the double crochet. So it's kind of holy, you know. It's not like the most
Dense stitch.
pattern stitch. So he's putting his fingers, and he's just been like pulling it, and when he's upset, he just, you know. So the other day I went to take it out of his crib, and I seen, you know, little dents here and there. And it's not undoing, because the stitch is so...
Yeah.
In the yarn itself, it's really good.
It holds.
It holds really good. So it's not... Every time I see one, I try to make a knot to,
Yeah.
like, you know...
Fix it.
But yeah, he's been loving that. So I know he would love this blanket, but
He
I
would.
also don't want him to... I don't want to say ruined it.
It would be much more resistant, though.
Yeah.
Do it. Plus, he'll,
Yeah,
by the time
no.
you finish it, he'll be like 3.
No, girl. If I want to finish it, I'm gonna put time and effort. Once
Should we bet on this?
No. Once I start with my calendar again this year, I can fit it in.
Okay.
I know it's gonna work. If I do a couple of rows, and you know, it's to me or for me, it's never a couple of rows. It's
Yeah.
It's always like
4 hours
more.
worth.
Oh yeah.
It's addicting once you start.
Finish this,
It's addicting. And you also crochet a lot faster than me, so it'll take you a lot less time than it took me.
I guess, but it's also worth the wait.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those projects that it's gonna take you a while, so you kind of like put it aside. But to me, it's also so satisfying seeing the color change.
Yes, and I want to do I'm done 1 month. I'm done 1 month.
Yeah.
It's a very satisfying project,
Yeah.
and it's a project I've done so many things, but this is the one project like I'm most proud of, because I'm like,
oh, for sure,
the amount of time and
Yeah.
effort that went into it. Like, I forget how many hours it took, but I remember at one point we had calculated how much yarn I used and how many hours it took me approximately.
Yeah.
And we had like calculated how much I would have to sell it for
Oh my
to
God.
just pay myself back, like not make profit, literally cover the cost of the yarn and cover my time, and it was over $3,000.
Oh my God.
So
That's
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, I would never make one for someone else.
No.
I mean, for my kids, eventually, maybe one day, like you're doing,
Yeah.
but not like I would never take an order for a temperature. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
unless you're willing to pay me $5,000, then I would absolutely do it. But
Yeah.
aside from that, no.
Oh yeah, absolutely not.
But yeah, so what were we saying?
Oh, that I was making Luca's blanket. And
Yes.
I also want to make Isa's, but she's only 6 months, so I have the excuse that I want to wait until she's 1 to, have every single day, and then
Yes. And that's the thing too. Like, temperature blankets don't have to start January 1st. Like,
No.
they can start at any time. Like, you can have it at Luca's birthday, Isabella's birthday. You could have it, like, some people have done their first wedding year, like,
Yeah, that's
as
so
an
nice
anniversary
too.
gift. Like, I have someone that bought my pattern that told me that she's bought it. They've been married for 7 years, and her goal is to make the blanket for the first year of their marriage. So from the day they got married till a year later, and gift it to her husband for their 10th anniversary. And I'm like,
No
that's
way,
super
that
cute.
is so sweet.
People have done it for their pregnancy, for their child's first year, for relationships, for wedding. People have gifted this as wedding gifts,
Wow.
which, again, you love your people and you are dedicated.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because it's not a small thing to do. So yeah, you can use it for so many different things.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's great. And it doesn't have to start on the first of the year. It can start any day. And it doesn't have to be like something upcoming either. Like, if you didn't record a temperature, you can just very easily Google like what the temperature was then.
Yeah.
I think it's time and date that I used, and you can just enter your location and you have like the hourly temperature. Like, you have it all the thing. You have the average of the day, you have the high, you have the lows. So you can just go back and find the temperature, because I tried really hard to take note of every single temperature the year that I made mine. But I forgot some days.
Oh, yeah,
I got
for
busy
sure.
and I forgot, and I thought I had, and then I went back like 2 weeks later to try to add a row, and I was like, I didn't have that day's temperature. So I would Google it.
Yeah.
We have the internet, people.
I
We
know.
can find anything. So back to the point of buying. So if you're making one for the upcoming year, buy one skein of yarn of each of the colors that you're going to use, so you at least have that. And as you use it up, buy more of each skein. If you're making it in the past, you can kind of figure out how many
Yeah, you can.
skeins you would need by like weighing how much you use in a row and figuring it out and buying everything that you need. So that could be, I mean, if you're planning on buying yarn that's not super accessible or more expensive, that could be a good idea to do
It's a lot
a
of
past
work,
year.
but
It's a lot of work.
it's doable.
Yeah. You're just like, I'm just going to go to the store when I run out of yarn.
Well, but yeah.
Yeah, if you want to use more expensive yarns, I would probably recommend figuring it out ahead of time just to make sure. Because
Especially if you don't know if the yarn is going to be available.
yeah, and that's the main thing, is if the yarn's going to be available. The good thing about this project, though, is you don't have to care about dye lots at all.
Yeah.
Because
Who cares?
the colors change so much that no one's going to notice if your olive green is not exactly the same color as your other olive green.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many other colors in between, no one's going to notice. I didn't even look at lot numbers.
Oh, yeah.
I just replaced skeins when I used them and just kept going like that. So that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have enough color to finish your row and you see there's a different dye lot, just rip that row off and start off with a new skein and you're good
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Yeah. What else do you want to know about temperature blankets?
I don't know. What else can we talk about? I think it's I think we have covered everything, like all the basics of the temperature blanket, and it's just such a fun project. But like you said, you have to be really dedicated to do it, and know that there is resources out there for you to make your blanket. And if you have questions, if you buy Natalie's pattern, you can always message her. She's gonna be willing to answer your questions. And just
You can also, I mean, if you're feeling adventurous, you can also like make any kind of other project that's temperature, like a temperature project. Doesn't have to be a blanket. I've seen people, I mean, I've made a scarf.
Yes.
Eventually I'll publish a pattern for it. But I've seen people make scarves. I've seen people make table runners. I've seen people make, and there's different ways of making a temperature blanket too. The standard kind of original way is to do a line a day.
Yeah.
But you can make a granny square a day.
Yeah, wasn't Tony doing
Tony
that?
did that.
But was she doing a square a day? 'Cause that's a lot of squares.
Yeah.
She was doing a square a day.
A square a day.
Wow, that's a lot of
Some
squares.
people, I've seen people do a square a day and place it in a calendar kind of setting and use white for the days that are like blank.
So nice.
So they have really like, it looks like a calendar, and then they have every month like that. I've seen people go just granny square back to back to back to back to back for all the days. I think Tony even did one where she starts from the corner and adds her squares like diagonally, which is nice. Personally, I like the ones where you can kind of tell the monthly separation.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I feel like that kind of goes well with what the idea of the pattern is
too. Yeah.
But there's so many different, stitches and sizes and shapes and everything that you can make. One day, when I have a baby, I will make them a temperature blanket. I already have my idea. I already know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
So one day when I have a baby,
Cute.
you'll be able to see that. So, and you can make it like knit. You can make it crochet. You can make it like, you could do like macrame. You could do anything that you want.
Anything.
You can adapt it to anything that you want if you just
the
are
concept
creative
is really
enough.
nice.
Yeah, it's a great way. Like, it's a really meaningful way to remember a year that means something to you. And before you ask, no, 2017 didn't mean anything to me special. I was just literally like, hey, this looks like a cool project. It's 2017. Let's make this. There is literally no thought process on like what this year is going to bring or if there's anything important.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is a good idea. I've seen this now. The year is starting. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's something that could be really, really meaningful and like a heirloom that you pass down in your family. Like if it's like you're going to make one for your kids' first year, like that's something super cute that they can, carry with them, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like you said, it's a very nice and meaningful project. It's time consuming, but it's totally worth it if you want to do it. And you are probably going to hate yourself in July or in the middle of your blanket or your project. But at the end, you're going to be so happy you did it. And it's going to be so rewarding to see every single row, every different color. It's just going to be amazing. So if you want a sign to make a temperature blanket, let this be the sign.
Yes.
And go make your temperature blanket. You're not going to regret it. It's a beautiful project. Natalie did it. It's beautiful. I still love all the pictures because it's just so color. I just love it.
It's so colorful.
And I'm doing mine, so I just need to finish it, and I'll show you guys whenever that's done. Hopefully soon.
This year. Hey.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You've committed to our listeners that
I know.
you were going to do this year.
I will. I want to. I really want to. But I just have, like an itchiness in my back that it's telling me to change the yarn that I used.
I'm not going to lie. I started a temperature blanket in 2022, and I loved the idea that I had. Before I even met my boyfriend, I was like, I'm going to do a his and hers blanket.
Oh, yeah.
Put out in the world what I want to happen in my life.
And it did happen.
And it did happen, and things are great. But yeah, I'm unsure about the color selection that I had. I was going to make it all neutral.
Yes,
But
I
I'm
remember that.
unsure if this is what I still want. So I think I did January and a bit of February and I stopped there. But I still want to do it because this one actually is a special year. And
Yeah.
like his and hers blanket would be really cool. But yeah.
I think I did probably like a month or month and a half of Luca's blanket, and I was thinking if I should use Wool Ease instead
Yeah, that would be nice.
because
It's more in your color palette too.
It's more in my color palette. I made Isa's blanket, which is called the Isabella blanket, and it's so nice.
Yeah.
The yarn is so nice, and I feel like it's not as heavy
That's true.
as the Impeccable.
It's a little bit lighter than...
It's lighter than the Impeccable.
Yeah, because even between the Vanna and the Impeccable is a tiny, tiny little bit bigger than the Vanna.
Yeah. I know with the Impeccable it would be beautiful, it would be heavy, nice, but I just don't know if I want
Okay, well, maybe
that.
we need to go yarn shopping.
Maybe we should.
We really should.
I think we should, plan the next day where we're going to take pictures and film reels and go on a little trip to the yarn store.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's go.
Bye, guys. No. Yeah, so temperature blankets. What else?
Well, tell us where they can find your pattern.
In my shop, either on Ravelry or on Etsy. On Ravelry, I think it's under my name, which is Nathalie Bouffard, or in Etsy, it's Knitally Co. So you can find it in my Etsy shop.
We're going to link it in the description
yeah, we
of
can do
the podcast, whether you're listening on anywhere or
Yes.
YouTube as well. We're going to link it there. So if you're interested, you can just check the description and you're going to have the link to Natalie's pattern, which is, like I said, extremely helpful. I have it. No, I didn't pay for it, but I have it, and
It
it's
was gifted.
it was gifted, but it's amazing, and I have also the planner, which is so freaking helpful, especially if you're all over the place like me. You need that. So yeah, everything is gonna be linked in the description of the podcast.
And don't feel bad if you don't finish by the end of the year.
No.
My 2017 blanket, I finished in the
2019.
fall of 2018.
2018.
I think 2018, 2019. I don't know. I finished a while later.
Oh yeah, I think it was 2018.
I think. And then I didn't publish the pattern until 2021. So like,
Yeah.
So
don't feel bad.
don't feel bad. You started yours,
My son's blanket is still in my closet.
in 2021, and we're 2023 now.
I know.
And you're a month in.
Yeah,
And my 2022, I'm a month in, and we're in 2023. So do not feel bad. Honestly, that's the thing that amazes me the most. Like, people tag me in their blankets, which I love to see. And they're like, only a few days to go to 2022. And like, I have a month left in my blanket. And I'm like, how? I'm amazed. Like,
Where
people
did you
have
find the
dedication. It's so amazing to see. But yeah. And I mean, the best advice I could give you if you are struggling to finish it, get a buddy to kick your butt.
Yeah.
I had all you girls at knit night
yeah.
being like, you need to finish this.
You're not bringing anything else to knit night other than your blanket.
No, and that's what I did for months until I finished it. And I'm so proud of it.
Aren't you happy?
I'm very happy.
Yeah, I think that's all for today's episode, right?
Yes, if you have any other questions or anything else, you can feel free to message me or us. And
Or leave your questions on YouTube.
yeah,
So
we'll answer them happily.
yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode.
Yes. And we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.